Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. This time, we're going to get into something that's become a real buzzword lately, and that is psychological safety at work.
Oh, yeah, it's everywhere.
You know, everybody's talking about it, but
It is.
are they actually doing it?
Right, that's the question.
We've got a whole bunch of research, some real-world examples,
Yeah.
and to kind of help us all figure out if our workplaces are truly safe or just, kind of saying they are.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's it's a tricky one
Yeah.
because so many companies think it's just about, having a cool office space, like beanbags and free snacks and stuff like that. But it goes so much deeper.
Right, yeah.
It's about truly fostering an environment where people feel like they can actually speak their minds, like really share whatever their ideas are, toss out those what might seem like crazy solutions without having that fear,
Yeah.
of being ridiculed or penalized or
Right, like, oh, I messed up,
Yeah.
but I still have a job, and you're not going to make fun of me, and that kind of thing.
Yeah. And in this deep dive, we're gonna look at some of the links that might seem a little unexpected
Okay.
between psychological safety and things like flexible work styles, or how to embrace failure,
Oh, interesting.
and even rest. You might not think those are connected, but
Yeah, not at first glance.
they are. So we're going to unpack all of that.
Okay.
And by the end, hopefully you'll have some sort of framework you can use to assess your own work environment,
Yeah,
and maybe even some actionable steps
love it.
that you can take to try to improve it.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into it. I want to start with flexible work styles because I was reading, I read so many things.
Sure.
But one of the things I was reading was that employees now seem to really actually value flexibility more than even salary or benefits,
Yeah.
which I was like, really?
Yeah, it's not just anecdotal.
Yep.
The data actually supports it. What we're seeing is that the desire for flexibility, it's not just about convenience.
Okay.
It's actually tied to a lot of other things like well-being,
Uh-huh.
productivity,
Yeah.
diversity, inclusion, all these different things. But you think about it, when people feel like they actually have the autonomy to kind of
Right.
structure their workday in a way that works for them,
Yeah.
they're less stressed, they're more engaged,
Makes sense.
they can actually bring their whole selves to work.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I guess I always think about, are there people that will take advantage of that?
Right.
And how do you even begin to implement that, especially for teams that are used to,
Yeah.
that traditional 9 to 5?
Yeah. Those are valid concerns.
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, it's not just about saying work from anywhere or
Right.
do whatever you want.
Right.
It's about building a culture of trust.
Okay.
And that starts with research.
Yeah.
You really need to understand what your team needs. What kind of flexibility would actually help them thrive?
Right.
Is it, remote work? Is
Yeah.
it flexible hours? Is it some sort of hybrid model?
Right.
And then once you know what they need, you've got to give them the tools.
Yeah.
Set really clear expectations and focus on outcomes, not just the hours that they're putting in.
Oh, so it's about, giving them the freedom to manage their time, but also
Right.
but holding them accountable
Yeah.
for the results.
Yeah, it's not just being flexible for the sake of being flexible.
Right.
It's using flexibility as a tool
Yeah.
to help both individual and team performance.
I like that.
Yeah. And one of the things that our sources highlight a lot is that this shift to more outcome-based work
Yeah.
actually requires a deeper level of psychological safety.
Oh, interesting.
Because if you're managing people based on the results they're getting,
Yeah.
they need to feel safe to take risks,
Right.
to experiment,
To fail
fail without getting in trouble.
without being punished. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Which brings us to our next point, embracing failure.
Yes,
Now, this one might feel a little counterintuitive.
it is. It is.
How can failing possibly be a good thing?
Right. That's what we're taught our whole lives.
Yeah.
That failure is bad. You don't want to fail.
We should be striving for success.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. A fear of failure, that just completely stifles innovation.
Okay.
So our sources talk about this concept called leaner safety.
Leaner safety. Okay.
Yeah. So the idea is you want to create an environment where making mistakes isn't some big catastrophe, but it's a learning opportunity.
Okay.
So think of it this way. If you are constantly worried about getting everything right,
Yeah.
you're way less likely to try new things,
Oh, for sure.
to push boundaries,
Yeah.
to come up with those groundbreaking ideas,
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So you've got to shift that mindset from failure is bad to failure is data.
Okay.
It's about taking those mistakes,
Yeah.
extracting lessons,
Yeah.
and using that to improve.
Okay, but I mean, how do we actually create a culture where we can embrace this leaner safety idea?
Well, it starts with leadership, right?
Yeah, okay.
Do the leaders actually openly admit when they've made mistakes?
Right.
Do they share what they've learned from those mistakes? And then you think about, how does the team as a whole react to failure?
Yeah.
Are there certain times where you can do brainstorming and throw out ideas, even crazy ones, and not be judged?
Right.
And are there systems in place to capture those lessons learned so that you can apply them to future projects?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's about really creating that space where people feel comfortable taking risks and even failing.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to be penalized.
Right.
And that's interesting because one of the things that the sources highlight is that this whole leaner safety, it comes down to small stuff.
A lot of times it really is the small stuff.
Okay, so
that makes the difference.
Give me an example. What kind of small stuff that we talking about?
Well, think about something as simple as, how does your boss call you to a meeting?
Oh, okay.
Do they always summon you to their office?
Right.
Which kind of reinforces that power dynamic?
Yeah.
Or do they sometimes come to your workspace?
Right.
Putting themselves on your level? It's a really subtle thing.
Yeah.
But it's a powerful message.
That is very interesting.
Respect and equality.
I've never even thought about that before.
Yeah.
But it makes sense. It's about those nonverbal cues that either create a sense of safety or not.
Yeah.
So what else would be like that small stuff?
Well, body language in general is huge.
Yeah.
Think about it. Are people approachable?
Right.
Open? Or are they kind of closed off and defensive?
Right.
Do they make eye contact when someone's talking?
Yeah.
Do they actively listen?
That's true.
These small things really show whether someone feels heard or respected or not.
So it's about paying attention to those nonverbal cues, even our own.
Absolutely.
And how our actions can impact other people.
Totally. And it's not just about what individuals do. It's about the systemic practices as well.
Okay.
So, for example, do you rotate leadership roles in your team?
Oh, okay.
That could help distribute power a little more evenly.
Right.
And give everyone a chance to kind of step up.
Right.
Contribute.
Yeah.
Another example is, how accessible is information?
Okay.
Are there really clear channels for you to get what you need? Or is it a constant struggle?
Right.
Those things, they might seem small, but they can cause so much stress.
Yes.
Anxiety.
Totally.
And it eats away at that psychological safety.
Yeah, it's like these barriers.
Exactly. Chip away at it.
Yeah.
So it's about making sure people have what they need.
Yeah.
And that they feel valued.
Absolutely.
And their contributions are valued. And a big one that a lot of people don't think about is consistency.
Okay.
Do leaders truly walk the walk?
Right.
Or is there a disconnect between what they say and what they do?
Right.
That inconsistency, it erodes trust so quickly.
Yeah. Because
almost nothing else.
Because if the rules don't apply to everyone, or if your leaders aren't, doing what they're saying, then it's like, why should I buy into this?
Totally. Yeah. And we can't forget about inclusive language.
Oh, of course.
Using the right pronouns.
Right.
Being mindful of everyone's backgrounds, different perspectives, avoiding microaggressions.
Yeah.
All these small but essential things to create an inclusive and safe environment.
It sounds like this small stuff is really about being intentional.
It is.
And mindful in all aspects of the workplace. Yeah. And it's about making sure everyone feels seen and heard and respected.
Absolutely. And speaking of respect, it's really important to bring up how the pay gap plays into psychological safety.
Okay.
It's not just about the numbers.
Right.
It's about how those disparities make people feel.
Right. It's the message it sends.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If certain groups are always getting paid less than others, it just creates this feeling of disrespect.
Yeah.
Of not being valued.
And not being valued.
Which totally undermines psychological safety.
Absolutely.
And our sources, they have some pretty hard-hitting statistics here.
Okay.
Black men are earning 87 cents for every dollar.
Wow.
A white man earns.
That's a big gap.
Yeah. Hispanic workers are making 91 cents.
Wow.
And women, on average, are making 17% less than men.
That's crazy.
It's a huge disparity.
Yeah.
And it creates this sense of unfairness.
Yeah.
Which can lead to resentment, mistrust.
Right, for sure. And it's disheartening to see those numbers.
It is.
But what can we do about that?
Well-
What can an individual do?
Well, that's a great question. And it's something our sources address.
Okay.
Even if you're not the CEO,
Right.
there are things you can do.
Yep.
You can advocate for yourself and for others.
Right.
Start by doing your research.
Okay.
Use websites like Glassdoor to get an idea of what the industry standards are.
Okay.
And make sure that you're being compensated fairly.
So knowledge is power.
Exactly.
Oh.
Arm yourself with the information
Yeah.
so you can make a case for yourself and for your colleagues.
Love it. What else?
Well, become a champion for your team members.
Okay.
Encourage them to keep track of their wins, their accomplishments,
Yeah.
and really advocate for their value when it comes to compensation.
Yeah. Support each other.
Exactly.
Celebrate those wins.
Yeah, celebrate each other.
Yeah. And make sure everyone's recognized
Absolutely.
and rewarded.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to push for more transparency from the higher-ups.
Okay.
Request regular check-ins to discuss your career.
Compensation.
Right.
Ask about the company's policies on pay equity, what steps they're taking to address any disparities.
It's about transparency.
Exactly.
When people feel like it's a fair system
Yeah.
and that everyone's playing by the same rules.
It builds trust.
It does.
It fosters that safety.
Absolutely. Okay.
And let's switch gears a little bit.
Okay.
And talk about something that often gets overlooked in these conversations about psychological safety.
Okay. Rest.
Wait, rest. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm intrigued.
In our always-on work culture,
Right.
rest is almost seen as a luxury,
Yeah.
a sign of weakness
Or laziness.
or laziness.
Yeah.
But our sources argue that it's essential
Really?
for both well-being and productivity.
Huh. I would not have thought of that.
Yeah. When people are constantly overworked
Yeah.
and stressed,
Yeah.
they're much more likely to make mistakes, burn out,
Oh, sure.
and just become disengaged.
Right, yeah.
And they're also less likely to feel safe to take risks or speak up.
So it's almost like rest allows
Yes,
for that psychological safety to flourish.
exactly.
I love that.
It's shifting the mindset from, I'll rest when I'm done,
Right.
to rest as part of the process.
I love that.
And there are some practical things companies can do
Okay.
to really promote this.
Like what?
Well, it starts with things like generous PTO,
Okay.
and more importantly, encouraging people to actually use it
Right.
without feeling guilty
Without fear.
or like they're falling behind.
It's not just about having the time available.
No.
It's about the company culture.
It's the culture.
Saying it's good to take time off.
Yes, it's a good thing.
And we encourage that.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. What else?
Well, it's about setting those clear boundaries
Right.
between work and personal time.
Okay.
Encourage people to log off at a reasonable hour.
Yeah, no more late night emails.
Yeah, try to avoid those.
Yeah,
It's tough,
it is tough.
but it's important.
Yeah, because if you're constantly getting those notifications,
Right.
you can never truly disconnect.
It's hard to recharge.
Right. So what else?
Well, our sources suggest things like implementing bandwidth check-in,
And with check-ins, okay.
where managers are regularly asking their team members how they're doing
Okay.
and then adjusting workloads and deadlines.
So it's about feeling like you can say, hey, I'm overwhelmed,
Yeah.
or I need a break
Exactly.
without being penalized.
Yes,
That's huge. I mean, that takes a lot of trust.
it does, and it's about recognizing
Yeah,
that everyone has different needs,
right.
different capacities.
Of course.
What's restful for one person
Yeah.
might not work for another.
Totally.
So you want to have lots of options.
Yeah.
Let people choose what works best for them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I feel like we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We've talked about flexible work styles, embracing failure,
Yeah.
the small stuff, addressing the pay gap,
Yeah.
and prioritizing rest.
Right.
It's clear that creating a psychologically safe workplace isn't just about one thing.
No.
It's about all these things.
It's a whole ecosystem
Yeah.
of practices and behaviors.
And it's not just a one-time fix.
No, it's an ongoing process.
That takes commitment
Yeah.
from everyone, the CEO,
Uh-huh.
all the way down to the newest intern.
Yep.
But as our sources have shown,
Yes.
the benefits are more than worth it.
Absolutely.
Increased innovation, creativity,
Yeah.
engagement, well-being.
You got it. It's not just a nice to have.
Right.
It's essential
The business.
to business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, as we wrap this up,
Yeah.
have you noticed, are there any common threads?
You know what's really interesting to me?
Yeah.
is that at the heart of it all is communication.
Yeah.
Honest and open communication.
I see that.
It's the foundation.
Right. Whether it's setting expectations for flexible work, giving feedback after a failure, or even using inclusive language.
Absolutely.
It's about clear, respectful communication.
Absolutely.
It's essential.
It's about feeling comfortable sharing your thoughts.
Yes.
Your ideas.
Yeah.
Without fear.
Without being shut down.
Of being shut down or ridiculed.
Yeah. And it's not just about the words we use, it's how we listen.
Yes.
Active listening.
Yeah.
Being present.
Yeah.
Truly trying to understand another person's perspective.
Another theme that keeps emerging is leadership.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's huge.
It's huge.
Everything.
Leaders set the tone for the entire organization.
Yeah.
Their actions.
More than their words.
More than their words.
Yeah.
Determine whether a workplace feels safe or not.
Absolutely.
So if they are modeling vulnerability, embracing those failures as learning opportunities, and really prioritizing their team's well-being, it creates this ripple effect.
It does. It does. Throughout the whole organization.
Yeah.
But it's not just about top-down leadership.
Right.
We can all be leaders.
Yeah.
In our own way.
Right.
No matter where we are in the company.
I like that.
We can advocate for our colleagues.
Yeah.
Speak up against injustice.
Yeah.
And create those little pockets of safety.
Right.
Within our own teams.
So why should we care?
Well, think about it this way.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in a meeting?
Yeah.
Where you had a great idea?
Yeah.
But you were too afraid to say it?
Or maybe I saw something that wasn't quite right, but I was too
afraid to say something.
Afraid to say anything.
We've all been there.
Yeah, we've all been there.
And those are missed opportunities.
Yeah.
Not just for us as individuals, but for the team, the organization, everyone.
Right.
Because when people feel safe to share those ideas, to challenge things, to admit mistakes, that's when the real innovation happens.
That's when problems get solved.
Exactly. New products are developed. Companies, communities, even societies can thrive.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive into psychological safety at work, we want to leave you with one final thought-provoking question.
Okay.
To ponder, to think about. What can you do? What can you do right now?
Yeah.
In your own little corner of the workplace?
That is the question. And our sources, they really emphasize that even small changes can make a difference.
Okay.
So what if you just committed to doing one thing differently today to try to foster a little bit more
I like that.
Psychological safety?
I like that challenge.
Yeah.
It feels empowering.
It is.
Because it's like, I don't have to wait for the CEO to change the whole company culture.
Right.
I can just do my own little part.
Yeah. You can start today.
Give me some examples. Like, what could I do?
Okay. Well, it could be as simple as really listening to a colleague.
Okay.
When they're sharing a concern.
Right.
Not just waiting for your turn to speak, but really trying to hear them.
Right.
To understand their perspective.
Or maybe it's, speaking up in that meeting when someone makes a joke.
It's a little inappropriate.
Yeah, not quite right.
Yeah, a little exclusionary. Or maybe it's volunteering to lead a project in a way that encourages everyone to share those ideas.
Yeah.
Even the half-baked ones.
Right, yeah.
Maybe you take 5 minutes to learn the correct pronouns for a colleague who uses they, them.
Okay.
Or maybe you advocate for someone's idea that got brushed aside.
Yeah, those little things.
Those little things.
That make people feel more...
Creates that more supportive environment.
Right. So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to bring it back to you. Absolutely. Our listener. The listener. What's your one thing?
Yeah, what's that small but impactful change that you're going to make today?
You cultivate.
To make your work environment
a little more psychologically safe.
A little bit safer.
We would love to hear your ideas.
We would. Share them with us.
Share them.
On social media.
Use the hashtag #DeepDiveSafety.
Hashtag #DeepDiveSafety.
Let's keep this conversation going.
Let's do it.
Because remember, building a psychologically safe workplace?
Yes.
It's a journey.
It is.
Not a destination.
It's ongoing.
Yeah.
And even those small steps can make a difference.
Absolutely. Until next time.
Keep diving deep. Keep learning.
See you on the next deep dive. What can you do today to start making your workplace a little bit safer?
Yeah, it's about those individual actions. It all adds up.
Yeah, it does.
Really does.
It's like those little drops in the bucket.
Exactly.
Yeah, so what can we do? What are some ideas that you've come across?
So our sources suggest that, one powerful thing you can do is just be more aware of the power dynamics at play.
Oh, okay, interesting.
And how you might be even unintentionally contributing to them.
Right.
So, for example, think about who you tend to interrupt in meetings.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, is it always the same people?
Right.
Or, are you quick to dismiss ideas that come from people who are, maybe more junior or from different backgrounds?
Right, yeah.
It's about really being mindful of those patterns.
It's about checking yourself.
Checking yourself, exactly.
Yeah.
And making sure that you're creating space for everyone to be heard.
And it's not just about what we do, it's also about what we don't do.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Like if you see someone being excluded from a conversation,
yeah,
or being talked over,
speak up.
Yeah, step in.
Yeah, be an ally.
Be an ally, exactly.
Yeah.
It's those small acts of courage that can really make a difference. Because it makes other people feel safer.
Exactly.
To then speak up themselves.
It creates that ripple effect.
And it's about creating that culture where everyone feels like they can contribute.
They belong.
Yeah, they belong.
Their voice matters.
And that their voice matters.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into psychological safety at work, we encourage you to think about that one small change you can make today.
Yes. What's your one thing?
Yeah, and share it with us on social media. Use the hashtag #DeepDiveSafety.
Love it.
Let's keep this conversation going.
Let's do it.
Because creating a psychologically safe workplace, it's something we can all be a part of.
Absolutely.
No matter our job title.
We're all in this together.
Or our level of seniority.
Yeah.
Until next time, keep diving deep.
Keep learning.
And we'll see you on the next Deep Dive.